So today I'm going to be doing the return largest numbers in arrays. It's from FreeCodeCamp's basic algorithm scripting. And there's quite a few ways to get this done. I'm going to start by doing it the way I think is going to be easiest for the beginners. But at the end, I'm going to show you how with ES6 and a couple other functions, we're going to be able to do this all on one line. So stick around to the end if you want to see that. But the instructions are return an array consisting of the largest number from each provided subarray. And it says for simplicity, the provided array will contain exactly 4 subarrays, but we're going to ignore that. It says we can iterate through an array with a for loop and access each member with the array syntax. So what it's trying to say is we have one big array, and inside it we have 1, 2, 3, 4 subarrays. So the first thing we're going to want to do is break up this big array. Then we need to pull the largest number from each of the subarrays. So this first one, the largest number would be 5. The second one, the largest is 27, and so on. So down here in the helpful links, they have comparison operators, and that is it. I'm not even going to open that up. You guys know what the greater than and less than operators do. So we'll get started doing this with for loops. So like I said before, we need to break up this first large array into the subarrays. So what we're going to do is for I equals 0, I is less than array dot length I plus plus. Like I said earlier, it said the provided array will contain exactly 4 subarrays. The only thing I could think that would make that even useful is you could change r.length to I is less than 4, but that's just bad coding in my opinion. So we're going to use the regular syntax for a loop, and I don't think there'll be any drop off in the readability or anything, because this is the way you make a loop normally. So for now, just to make sure we're on the right track, we'll console log R I. So if you're not familiar with a loop, this should log each member of the R parameter, which is this array when we call largest of 4 with one parameter. Remember, this is all one array. It is called R, and we are going to console log each member of R. And we'll scroll up to the top to make it a little bit easier to see. But you see here we have 4, 5, 1, 3, and then 13, 27, 18, 26. And that's what we're looking for. Well, now we need to find the largest number in the array. And like I said, there are other ways to do this, and some of the ways take much less code, but this is what we're going to do for now. We need to find the largest number in the array, so we're going to make a var largest, and we're going to set that to 0 for now. And then we're going to loop through each one of these subarrays. So it's very important where we put this var largest equals 0. Once we run through this array, then we need to reset largest to 0 again so we could run through the second subarray. And then I'm going to make a loop for var j equals 0. J is less than Ri dot length. Because remember, we're looping through the subarray now, so it's Ri dot length and J plus plus. And here we'll write if Rij is greater than largest, then we'll set largest to Rij. So hopefully you're comfortable with this syntax, but if you're not, you just have to remember this Ri would be this subarray 4513. And now we're looping through again, so Rij would be, just imagine this is R0, 0. So it would be the first element of the big array and the first element of the subarray. And when this is R11, it would be the second element of the big array and the second element of the subarray. And just to show you what it is, we'll console log Rij. And we should get a bunch of single numbers now. It'll be hard to tell if we're actually doing everything right here, but that's what I was expecting, is a bunch of single numbers. So that's good. So as we loop through this subarray, remember, largest is getting set to the highest number that it encounters in each subarray. And once we're done with each subarray, we're going to push largest into an array that's going to be our answer. And up here, outside of any of the loops, we'll say var answer equals an empty array. So I'll try to make this a little more readable. So we're making an array that's going to be our answer. And it's an empty array right now. We're looping through the big array, breaking it into the subarrays. And we're setting largest to 0. Then when we loop through each subarray, we are finding the largest value in the subarray, and then we are pushing that value into the answer. So now if we go down, and we'll just console log it first. And we'll check out our results. We got, I don't know why this broke out to another line. Oh, it's because now I have a scroll bar. But remember, we had 4, 5, 1, 3, so that would be 5 is the largest. And in this one, 27 is the largest. This one, 39 is the largest. We look down in our console, we have 5, 27, 39. And then this 1001, which is also correct. So we should be able to just return the answer, and we'll be all set. And it works. But there are a ton of things we can do to simplify this code. For now, I'm going to remove this entire inner loop. And we're going to look at a function called math.max. JavaScript has a math library, and one of the functions in it is math.max. The square brackets around these are actually signifying that they're optional parameters. Down here in the examples, they have math.max 10, 20, returns 20. But as you can see, they are not providing an array as their argument. They're providing a list of numbers. So right here, it says function prototype apply will find the maximum element in a numeric array. So that's the next thing we need to look at is this function.apply. And here you see function.apply takes this argument and an array. So this argument we are actually just going to provide null here because it's not important to what we're doing at all. And the arguments array is an array-like object specifying the arguments with which function should be called. So back to the code. R, we don't need R here. Largest equals math dot max dot apply. And remember null here because we don't need this. And the arguments array will be Ri. So instead of making another loop, we're actually running a function on each subarray. And the function is mathmax. And let's see, make sure we got everything right. We're setting largest to 0. And we set largest here to the largest in each subarray. And then we push largest to the answer. And if we run that, that works. But there's a lot of unneeded code here. We actually don't need this largest variable at all. We'll remove that. And we'll just do answer.push the answer or the return value of this mathmax apply. So answer.push and this is the same code, so this will work. And we're getting closer, but there are other ways to simplify this down. ES6 provides a way to do mathmax a lot cleaner. So before we run any ES6 code, we should do this JS hint ES version :6. And we'll go back to the mathmax down here towards the bottom somewhere. It says with the new spread operator, getting the maximum of an array becomes a lot easier. So instead of doing this mathmax apply and then having to put null for this keyword, we can just spread the array mathmax and then we take the max of this spread out array. So we can remove this apply, remove the null, and we'd put ... Ri. Oops, I did need that. Okay, I'll try that, and that works. And now we can actually remove this whole loop altogether. and we're going to use map, array.map. So we'll say arr.map, and I'll show you the ES5 way first, but it's a little bit more verbose. Array.map, and that takes a callback function, and that what this array.map does is it calls a function on each subarray, on each element in the array. But in our case, it will be calling a function on each subarray. And just for simplicity, we'll call it I again. And then if you remember from our last function, we will answer .push math.max, and we'll spread out RI. And I removed my answer variable because it wasn't really needed, but we'll do that again. And we'll return answer at the end. And I have an error because we're not using RI anymore. It's just called I now. That worked. We'll clear out these errors out of the console. Now ES6 makes this a lot easier. Well, at least a lot less code. You don't need to write the function keyword. You just write yourself an arrow function. Oops. And this arrow function will return, as long as you keep it on a single line, it will return whatever after the arrow. And we can remove this answer variable altogether, and we'll just return the array that is returned from this array.map. And I'm seeing a red line, so I must have something wrong here. Looks like I'm missing a parenthesis. And that's better. It says answer is not defined. Oh, okay. We don't need this answer at all. Don't need that parenthesis anymore. So this is going to be the cleanest solution you can find for this problem. All we're doing, we're array.map. We take each index of the array and we call math.max on each subarray. And this returns an array of the largest number in each subarray. So if you're not used to the ES6 syntax yet, that's fine. I think going through the two-loop solution will be good if you've never done anything like that before. It's good to understand how nested loops work, but as I said, you're not going to get any better than this. Well, thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more.